Hello crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I have one of the new July releases from Nook Designs. This new stamp set is called Message in a Bottle, and today I will be using it to make a shaker card. This is one of the stamp sets that comes with some coordinating dies, so when you see that I flip the stamp set over, I'll have the dies on a magnetic sheet behind it. That's my preferred way to store my dies, and I talked about that in a recent video introducing the dies, how I put them on magnetic sheets and store them in the same zip top bag as my stamps. I have a piece of acetate and some StazOn ink because I will be making a shaker card. I wasn't really sure about it, and it was kind of an experimentation the whole time. The shaker cards are not my forte. I struggle a little bit with them. But it did come together in the end, a little bit messy and a little bit time consuming, but I really like the look and the end. So I have the StazOn ink because I'm going to be stamping the bottle on this plastic. And StazOn ink is one of the few inks that will stay permanent on plastic. And because the center of this bottle is cut out here, it is a little bit trickier to line up on your block, and I recommend just kind of placing it down on your craft sheet and picking it up with the block as opposed to trying to lay it onto the block. Then you can ink up the StazOn and stamp it down, and you see here that I actually stamped two of them because I just wanted to make sure that everything would work out. I decided to create an ocean background, and I'm going to be doing the more, traditional way of ink smooshing, which is when you put it on your mat and then you take the cardstock to the mat. And so I put 3 colors of distress ink. I believe it was Mermaid Lagoon, Peacock Feathers, and Tumbled Glass. But any 3 blues that you like will do. No, I used Cracked Pistachio because I really like that green mint color in the oceans. And so I placed them all on the craft sheet, spritz some water, and then push the Tim Holtz watercolor paper into the ink. I'm drying it a little bit with my heat gun, and where there's bits of ink that sort of pool on the sides, I dabbed it away with a wet baby wipe. And now I'm going to continue to dip this watercolor paper into the ink until I like the way that it looks. I'm also taking off some ink with the wet baby wipe because I felt like it got a little too dark there and it will react with water, so using something wet will tone it down a little bit. And then I wanted to put some of that green back in, and so I touched a little bit more Cracked Pistachio to my craft sheet. And once I had the watercolor the ocean background finished, I decided that I wanted to add a little bit of shimmer to this card because I am going to be doing some gold embossing later. And so I took this gold glimmer mist from Tattered Angels. I made sure that it was completely mixed in. You check the bottom and make sure none of the little it's the glimmer in the bottom. None of the glimmer in the bottom is still sitting there. You want to make sure it's evenly distributed. So you want to just make sure all the liquid in the bottle is uniform. Then you want to hold it about 6 inches up from your paper. Spray it down. If you get a little too much, again, you can just dab it with the baby wipe, or even a dry cloth would work as well, just to sop up some of the ink if it's a little too dark. Now I want to move on to the elements that I'll put inside the shaker. I have this scroll from the stamp set, and I'm going to be embossing it with gold embossing powder, and I want the sentiment to be right inside it. This was a little bit tricky to do because I'm stamping it with a clear ink. The Versamark ink is clear. And then I wanted to stamp the sentiment in the center, but you can see the little bit of wetness on the paper where the ink is sitting on the paper. So when you're stamping it in your studio, or it's not studio, in your craft space, you will be able to see it. And although you can't see it on camera, so I was able to line it up pretty easily. And then I put Ranger Queen's Gold embossing powder over it. And I did the same thing with the anchors. I cut them with, I gold embossed them with the Queen's Gold, and then I die cut them. Because it has coordinating dies, I was able to die cut out this scroll piece, and I will also be die cutting out those anchors, but I wanted to give them a little bit different of a look. I wanted them to have this sort of toned down effect because I thought the white would present too much of a contrast with that ocean background. So I'm just taking some antique linen distress ink and putting it around these gold embossed images. I wanted to do that before I die cut them out because with the anchors it might wrinkle and they might kind of get smushed up, as it would be harder to apply the ink before they were cut. So now I'm ready to assemble my shaker. I cut my ocean background with the largest of the small stitch rectangle dies from Lawn Fawn, and I also cut 2 pieces of fun foam with the same die. I want it to look like there's a clear bottle, and so I want to maintain the ocean look in the background. So when I cut out this piece from the watercolor or the ocean background, I want to keep it because I'm going to be adding it again to the end so that it really looks like the bottle is just clear and you can see the ocean through it. So what I did to make sure that it would all be in the same position is I placed the die cut on top of the watercolor paper and the foam, cut it once, and since I need 2 pieces of foam because this foam is really thin, I just placed the die cut back in the same position and cut the second piece. I would recommend that you just get thicker foam because this is really annoying, honestly, to have to work with 2 pieces of foam and tape it together, that extra layer. But this was the foam that I picked up at the dollar store when I first heard about using foam on cards, and I didn't realize how thin it was. It works for if you just want to like add some dimension, but for shaker cards you need something thicker. And so I also trimmed out the area a little bit because otherwise you would see that green right through the edges. So what I recommend doing is just cutting it a little bit bigger. So the bottle shaped hole would be just a smidge bigger. And then cut off the edges of the green foam for the same thing on the sides. Then I have that plastic piece that I stamped in the beginning, and I'm making it the window to my shaker. I taped it to the back of the ocean panel, and now I'm ready to try to assemble the actual shaker part. So I want this bottle to be in the same position on the bottom cardstock, so again that it will look like this bottle is transparent, it's a consistent ocean, but with this bottle in between. And so I am just going to try to line it up by placing my main card panel down and then sort of sliding in the bottle until it looks like it's in about the right position, and then I'll finish taping it down once I know that it's exactly where I want it. And now it's time for me to fill my shaker. Part of the reason I cut out those anchors before is because they're going to be part of my shaker material, but I also decided to add in some beads. Before I get started adding in shaker materials, I wanted to add a little bit of this powder tool from EK Success because I find that then the powder will stick to any of the adhesive and then your shaker elements won't stick to the adhesive as much. And also it kind of gets rid of a little bit of that static, so sometimes the little sequin pieces will really stick to the plastic on the front of the window of the shaker, and I didn't want that. So here you see that I'm just tossing in some beads and the anchors, and I'm really liking the way that it looks, but I felt like I might need a little bit more. And as you can see, the beads are going everywhere because they're super tiny, but I was able to contain them a little bit. I lost some here and there, but that's okay because, like I said, they're so small. But then I was able to position the shaker piece on top of the background paper, and that's about it for my card today. But I thought that the background was a little bit plain looking, so I just took those waves from the Shark Bites stamp set, and I'm just stamping them in the Mermaid Lagoon ink, which I had used earlier, just to give a little bit more texture and to really make it clear that this bottle is floating in the ocean and not just on a generic background. I just feel like it lends a little bit more of that ocean theme to the look. And once I have all those waves stamped down, I'm going to mount it on some black cardstock and then onto my card base, and that will be it for my card today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more crafty videos, you can subscribe to my channel. This is introducing the new Newton's Nook Designs July release, so it is part of a blog hop where you can enter to win this stamp set by going to the blogs and leaving comments. So I'll leave you a link in the video description below to the blog hop and to the products that I used in this video. Thanks for watching. Bye.